Hello everybody, my name is Ilya.
And my name is Tyler. Together we make up kovray, a couple that loves to play board games.
And it's PolyomiNovember.
PolyomiNovember.
Now today what we'll be doing is our part 1 of the rapid reviews of all the Polyominos we've played.
Yes, exactly.
It's a lot of Polyominoes.
Yeah. Well, is it? Is it?
Is it? I guess we'll find out in this video. This is part 1 of part 2. We're going to give you the introduction of the game, a quick overview, and our quick thoughts of what we thought and our experience with the game.
Exactly.
Do we like it? Do we love it? Do we hate it? Probably not hate it.
No, probably not hate it.
Probably not hate it. But we'd love for you to play along. So if you play these games, give us your reviews. Give us your thoughts. Tell us about your experiences. We'd love to know more as the video progresses.
Yes. And of course, which of these games that we talk about today is your favorite? Which is your least favorite? Who knows? Give us some thoughts.
We have a lot of questions of the days, I think. And we have a giveaway at the end of the video, so stick around for that. Okay, well, let's jump right into it.
With me first.
You first.
This one right here. Dragones del Mar. Sea Dragons. This game is by Yaniv Kahani, Penny Schechter, and Simone Luciani. It's from Fractal Juegos, and it is a polyomino, which is all the games that we'll be talking about today. But this one in particular, what you're going to be doing is almost like area majority. No, it is area majority and contract completion. You'll place your little sea dragons in different shapes that you end up grabbing and building out of your hand, and then you'll place them onto the board, onto certain spaces, collect different resources, and manage your basically system from there. And whoever has the most points through those two particular things ends up being the winner.
Now the big twist in this game is that you cannot place your dragons next to your own pieces.
Yeah.
I feel like every other polyomino you always have to place touching to yourself, but here you cannot do that. But you can place touching your opponents, and then they get a coin for it.
Yeah, which is very, very interesting, especially when you take a look at like the different size player counts. Player 5, or playing a 5-player count is very interesting because you'll get more coins. Playing at a 3-player count, you probably won't get as many coins. So it changes your strategy, changes like the things that you're able to do, and it's pretty interesting. Yeah. I
was a huge fan of this game. I feel like my expectations were kind of down the middle, but it exceeded them a lot. Yeah. Because everything it did really well. The contract completion is fun. There's still a surprise element with the area majorities. And the cool aspect of covering whirlpools that score the majorities to maybe sabotage other players is so interesting, that whole balance between the game. But we've played this a few times now, and every time I've enjoyed it more than the last. Yeah,
I will say that if you are going to play this game, do not let the area majority deceive you. It is worth a lot of points, and it will end up like swinging the game in whoever's... And sometimes like you will win just off of the area majority. So just keep an eye out for it, because it is very important, even though those intermediate scoring feels like they're happening when you're completing those contracts. You still have to pay attention to the areas.
Or maybe cover all the whirlpools and the area means nothing.
That is true. That is true. You could become sea dragons of your own in that sense.
Sink all the pirates, sink everything, and claim the treasure.
Anyways, that's sea dragons. Let's move on to the next game.
The next game is Copenhagen.
Copenhagen
is designed by Daniel Skold Peterson and Asger Harding Grangrud, and is published by Queen Games. Now, what you're going to do in Copenhagen is essentially you're going to collect cards and then use those cards to place polyomino tiles that are buildings. And the way you score points is completing rows and columns. And you get even more points if those rows or columns are only windows.
Yeah.
Because everyone loves a window onto the street to see what's happening, to see what the neighbors are doing, to pry a little.
Yeah, or vertical windows all the way up to the highest peak.
Get a good sight at the very end.
You can double your points that way. And
what this game is a race to finish.
Yes.
Because the first player that gets a certain amount of points will win the game. And that's what makes it really fun, because the cards that you draft, depending what the tiles are, there's a lot of layers in that.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's abilities that you can end up drafting because every time you complete certain rows, no matter what the windows and non-window spaces are, you get to perform like one of 3 things, and then one of them is getting a new ability. And the abilities can really add to your experience. You can choose which ones to get, which ones, and how to utilize them. So that's a lot of fun. We played this first as a roll and write. And I will say, I actually don't know if I would compare them. They definitely give similar vibes, but yeah, they're different enough that I would say that yeah, they're just different enough. And
different
I like it.
enough. Yeah, I really like the table presence in this one. It's really like all the different tiles are colorful buildings, and it plays quite quickly too.
Yes.
It's about a 20-40 minute game at most, so it creates a fun experience.
Yay, Copenhagen.
That is Copenhagen.
Next game we got for you is Tipperary.
Tipperary.
It looks very difficult to say, but
there's a lot of P's and R's.
Anyways, this one is designed by Gunther Burkhardt, and it's published by Lookout Spiel. And basically in this game, you're going to be grabbing certain tiles from the center board based on like a spinner, and you get to choose which one out of the 2 that you have to place into your own little kingdom, I want to say, or county. And then you're building off of what you have to score various different points in different ways based on the type of land that you put together. And then of course you want to be able to make a square or rectangle at the end of the game, because that will also get you additional points. I guess that will get you points.
Yeah, quite a bit of points too. Yeah, the scoring in this game is really fun because every tile has a different way that it can score or contribute to your game.
Yeah.
So it creates for a really fun experience deciding which tiles you go. But I think what really makes this game stand out is that little spinny wheel.
Yeah, it's
because
cool.
you never know the tiles you're going to land on. It's almost like the whole like spin the wheel and see what you get every single turn, which is really fun. And it's simultaneous play as well.
Yeah.
So that makes it quick. It's another quick game. Definitely, it says 45 minutes on the box, but I definitely feel it feels like a little bit faster because it's only 12 rounds.
Yes.
In a lower player game. It's 10 in a 5-player game.
Yeah. I think 45 minutes is right. I think it's maybe a little on the higher end, but it is always fun to like adjust your strategy based on the spinner, and that's probably the best part about this game.
And the little barrels, they're so cute.
Yes, yeah, when you move your barrels
little
over,
barrels and sheep and little sheepies.
The sheep is cool because you can you basically score off the giant sheep field that you have, but there's empty spaces that you can put sheep onto to help grow your field if you connect them. Yeah.
So it has a lot of things that we love in Polyominoes.
And that's Tipperary.
Tipperary. The next game we're going to be talking about is Llamaland. So we talked about sheeps, now we're going to talk about llamas.
Llamas.
So this was designed by Phil Walker Harding, and it's also from Lookout Games. So the way this one works is you'll pick tiles and place them on your board. Now, you can expand out or you can cover spaces. If you cover spaces, you'll get little tokens. And then those tokens can be exchanged for llamas.
Ooh.
Now, the earlier you get the tokens, so the earlier you exchange them, the llamas are going to be worth more points. And then where you place the llamas, you no longer can place tiles on top or covering those spaces, so it restricts your movement a little bit.
Yes.
And where those llamas are usually depends on the goals, because there's goals that you'll work for. Maybe you'll want 3 llamas on the 3rd level, or various other ways of llamas or the way that your game is set out. There's also character cards that have abilities that can shift your game a little bit, but it is really much in essence of placing a tile, getting some resources, trading them to score more points.
Yes, I like the goals because like basically at the start of the game you'll have these tokens that you get to place on the goals, and the end of every turn that you take you can choose to place one of your tokens onto one of those goals, and it really helps you like come up with your own strategy, blocks off maybe like somebody else's, or maybe forces you into a situation where you're like, well, I could get the most points here, or I could go in the 2nd place zone here and get less points, but I'm more likely to get that, so it's more worth it. So those decision points are very, very interesting. And of course, racing to get the better llamas, especially with the workers, because they've got like abilities that you can use to basically transfer things over, or like when things happen you get more. It's always nice to like combo off of almost to be able to get llamas.
Llamas. I do think the goals are what makes this game stand out, specifically because it's not you finish your goal and you get points, is you prioritize a goal like Tyler said, and you tell everybody in the table, this is what I'm going for. So it creates that different dynamic, because later on you could shift. Yes. You could say, like, I don't want to do this anymore, I'm going to go to another empty space. But it's likely worth more points because first come, first serve.
Yeah, and like some of them are worth more than others, and you really have to like balance on which ones you're actually able to do. So those first few decisions on the goals is very important.
Overall, it's a very fun game.
Llama Land. 5-4. Fifth game that we're going to be talking about right now is Spring Meadow. This is a part of a trilogy, I believe. Part of a trilogy? I would say yes.
Yes.
So this game is by Uwe Rosenberg. It's published by Stronghold Games. And basically what you're trying to do, this one to me felt like the most like Tetris, in my opinion.
Okay.
You've got your board in front of you that you want to fill up basically like as high as you can, but you want to finish off every spot, because at the end of scoring, it's basically like who scores the most points will get a medal, and whoever makes it to 2 medals is the winner at the end of it. But you have to make sure you finish your rows, because that's how you score the most points. The fun part about this is you are also like, are they groundhogs?
Yeah.
Groundhogs. There's like groundhogs that come out, and you've got mermaids, some
prairie dogs.
Prairie dog. Yeah.
They are underground dwellers.
They're very cute.
Yes.
But the point is, what I'm trying to say is that there are like holes that are part of the tiles, and this is definitely part of the trilogy that you'll see. Similar is those holes will give opportunities to get more shapes based on making like connections of like several different holes. You'll be able to grab different shapes, add them to your board, and then maybe score yourself more points.
And they score more points if you cover one of the groundhogs, so they can peek out and say hello to everybody.
Hello.
But what's really neat about this game is the thematic aspect of it too, because you'll be drafting tiles around this kind of land square. The square of tiles, and the tiles that you'll place will slowly begin to melt the snow. So the spring is indeed coming, and depending how well you do, if you leave snow pieces, that's bad. We want the snow gone. So again, like Tyler said, once you get those 2, you win. And that's what makes it really fun. I like the race. Like the points don't matter at the very end of the game. It's more of like every round, you're just trying to win that round. So you can catch up and win.
And you do get kind of an advantage, or no, not even an advantage, but you keep your board at the end of every round, so you do still build off of that, but whoever won has to like cover all of their holes so they don't actually score them again.
Yeah, the groundhogs have surfaced already. They're ready for spring. They can't do it again.
Yeah.
But very fun game.
Yep, and that is Spring Meadow.
Now we talked about groundhogs. Now let's talk about bears.
Bears.
Not beets?
No.
No Battlestar Galactica?
No Battlestar Galactica.
So this is another Phil Walker Hardy game from Lookout Games. And here you're building a park of bears.
Park of bears.
And it's as simple as that. You're going to start off with a little square board. And this game is really simple in its essence, because you're going to have a tile. You're going to cover your board. And based on the spaces that you cover, you'll get more tiles, different types of tiles, potentially more boards. What you're trying to do is be the first, or you're trying to fill up 4 boards and score the most points in doing so. So if you get some of the tiles earlier, they'll be worth more points. If you complete a section of the board, you'll collect a little bear statue, and the first to get them will get higher points than others. So there's a lot of race element to this game. You're trying to do a lot of things first because you'll score more points in them. But then there's also objectives. There's a lot of layers in this game that just make it a lot of fun. But the sheer simplicity of just placing a tile, covering a symbol, and getting something in return, and kind of that whole cycle makes this for a really good game.
Yep, I agree. I like the race element to it. You can also I guess like almost like block people off by making sure you grab those tiles, and then of course like the larger exhibits that you would grab, they're a special icon, so you know that you're only going to get three total out of all of them, and then you can grab them, place them onto your board, and hopefully score yourself a lot of points.
It's so much fun to make everything fit the way that you want it to fit. And basically it's just of how planning ahead and trying to be the first to get there.
Yes.
We've played this game so many times and it's just always a joy to get to the table.
Yeah. One thing I will say that's really nice about this game is because you're trying to fill those boards, you don't have to worry about the shapes that are available for you unless they actually run out. There's a possibility that that does happen, but you can really like plan ahead with some of these shapes and know what you need to grab so you can fill up your space. And of course there is a 1 cube or a 1 square.
Sometimes
and that's
it's the
not,
bathroom.
Yeah, and I think it's always a bathroom.
Is it always
like
a
different
bathroom?
styles.
Oh, different styles of bathrooms.
Yeah. But the point is like you don't always want to have to take those, but it is available to you if you do need them.
Bathrooms are usually bad. Don't go to the bathroom.
Unless you really, really have to. There you go. Barren Park. Okay, I'm going to stick with the trilogies, and then now we're going to talk about Indian Summer. This is, of course, designed by Uwe Rosenberg. It's published by Stronghold Games, and this one, like the other one, has Tetris-type, Polyomino tiles with holes in them, except this board, what you're going to be doing is it's divided into 6 sections, and you're going to be placing your polyominoes that are in your backpack based on the actions that you choose to do. So you can like place your own tiles into your board and you want to try and fill up those spaces, but every time you cover a fruit, mushroom, leaf, any of the icons on your board,
feather,
and acorn. That's the other one
acorn,
I'm thinking of. Yeah. Anytime you cover them with a hole, you can put that resource on top of that hole, and then once you complete that section, you get those resources. The cool thing about the resources is they offer more to do on your turn. So for example, you can use the mushroom to play one of your opponent's tiles and one of the tiles that is being drafted. You can use your blueberries to get more tiles to your backpack, and it does feel like very, very smooth, very, very neat. Of course, there are animals that come up, which is really fun because what you can do is similar to Spring Meadow. What you can do is you can combo up the holes that are on your board and grab different types of animals. I'm staring at this fox right now because if you make one of the T's, you can grab the fox tile to put back onto this, and then you get even more resources because you get the resources that you cover. So it's a way to double up on the resources.
Now don't forget the most important part.
How you win.
Exactly.
The way you win is you want to be the first person to fill up your entire board. So it is a very much like a go, 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 go as fast as you can, but also there's some strategy to it because using those resources is very important.
Yeah, I think what makes this game stand out for me is that typically collecting the resources, you think that they are the points, and you gravitate to getting more of them, but you really have to use them to your advantage to try to fill the board first.
Yes, yeah.
So it's really much of like, how do I get more actions and more tiles and more abilities so that I can get ahead of the opponent or steal a really valuable tile they have so that I can finish my board first.
Yeah.
And the board here is absolutely gorgeous. The tokens are also double-sided, so the art on them is just so gorgeous and beautiful. It's a great game for the table presence alone too. It
really is. It's quite the table hog if you really want to look at it because all the tiles are like in a circle that you're ending up following.
Well, you didn't have to put all of them
out. Right. When you played it, yeah.
I was like, I'm going to put all of them out. So I took the whole table because there's so many tiles. But you're supposed to refill them after you run out of the circle initially.
I see.
I just made it more beautiful.
Ah, okay.
Exactly.
Well, it's still a fun game. I actually think I like this one more than Spring Meadow.
Oh.
But anyways, that's Indian Summer.
Interesting. So next game I'm going to talk about is number 9.
Number 9.
Take it to the next level. Now this one is, I don't know who it's designed by. Oh, by Peter Wickman, and it's published by Z-Man Games. Now number 9 is a very fun, simple game. Essentially what you're going to do is you're going to flip a card, and it's going to have a number from 1 to 9. You're going to take that number, you're going to place it on your board, and then you'll continue. Now, when placing numbers, you're going to build out so you can place numbers in layers on top, because at the end of the game, the way you'll get points is the value of the number times the level they're on.
Yeah.
Now, the base level is 0. So all the tiles you place that will act as your support will not score you anything.
The number times n-1.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it becomes more difficult, and it's really interesting to navigate around the 0, for example, because there's a hole in it, and it's just how you navigate and place those numbers. But at the end of the game, you'll just lay out those numbers, take them by layers, multiply them, and that's your score. So it's quite simple. You draw 1 or 2 of every number in the whole game, but the order is always different.
Always different. I like the boxes, basically like the storage thing. Well, of course it's the storage thing, but you can place it in the middle so that it's like where everybody can grab from, which I really like. I think with this one, I had a hard time with the shapes that were this. I think they were a little farther than most polyominoes would be, so that I had a hard time wrapping my head around like how to make those shapes work, especially when you can't have any like gaps to make your stacks higher. So that would be my one little issue with it. It wasn't bad, but it wouldn't be my go-to, I'm not gonna lie.
That's fair. Another fun factor about this game too is you can get multiple copies and play with more and more people. So
that is cool.
It scales up infinitely, essentially.
It is a very quick game too, so you can always, if you had a bad game, just play another one. Maybe you'll do better.
And that's
number 9. So all of you are probably like, oh hey, Tyler's going to talk about Cottage Garden next. But we're gonna save that for the next one. Because I'm evil like that. And we're gonna talk about the Isle of Cats instead. This giant box filled with cats.
There's a lot of cats.
There is a lot of cats. So this one, I would say, is probably more on the heavier side of the polyominoes that we've played. But basically, it is a card drafter and I guess tile drafter where you're trying to fill up your ship with cats. And you do that through like a variety of different shapes that are going to be available to you. As you can see, you've got to make sure you have enough crates to be able to bring cats onto your ship, and then there are goals that you can that you can commit yourself to, that you can commit the board or the all players to, that really adds to the value of the game, where you're going to be playing almost a different game every single time. The cool part about this too is that there are different colored cats, so you want to try and keep the same colored cats together because those will add value to the groupings that you end up making.
Family.
And you want to make sure that your cats are getting the rats that are on your ship, because you don't want those rats, I guess, eating away at all of your other resources. Who knows? But
what are they doing?
The other cool part about this is there's a lot of cool parts about this is there's rooms, so you have to make sure you can like fill up your rooms and not like get too you basically want to make sure you have filled rooms, because it can maybe lose you points at the end of the game, and that would never be good. There's a lot in this game. I will say that it's like definitely one of my more favorite polyominoes that we've played. It's got a lot of different cats, and I'm realizing it also has a bit of some like wacky shapes, which I think is really fun, but it's also really interesting to have to like make this decision based on the cards that you want, because you have to like pay for the cards to keep them in your hand, then be able to use them in the next use phase.
The fish.
Yeah.
Fish for the cards.
Fish for the cards.
What I really like about this game is there's so much layers in it, because it does have that card drafting mechanic, tile placement, goal fulfillment, but it doesn't have it in a messy way. It feels very procedural to have you do things, and there's various modes that you can play as well. There's more family-friendly modes.
That's
also,
true, yeah.
Obviously, the box that we have is like the Kickstarter big box that has all the expansions, because there's also kittens and various sea creatures. So there's so much different ways to change up the game based on what you want to play. In general, the theme of it is really fun too, because you're basically trying to save the cats off the island before the evil arrives.
Exactly.
And lastly, this one's designed by Frank West, and it's from the City of Games.
Yes, it is. But we will put this. We'll put this away. Holy moly!
30 pounds. Probably not 30 pounds. But
no, definitely not 30 pounds, but heavy.
Heavy. Now the next game is a classic. Blockus. So in Blockus, what you're going to do is you're going to assume a color. You're going to start at one corner, and you're going to place pieces and try to remain in the game. Now when you place your pieces, the corners have to touch to a previously placed piece of yours. But as everyone's doing this at the same time, the room begins to shrink. So you're essentially trying to block out opponents and make it so that they can't place their pieces.
Yeah.
And it's really cool because your strategy really does change because you have access to all your pieces.
Yeah.
So you're going to try to play all your biggest pieces first and save the little ones for later. That's probably a good strategy.
Or is it?
Or is it? What I will say is I do really enjoy this game more at a higher player count.
Yeah,
because with 2 players, it's you still have a lot of fun because you do kind of head battle. But in a 4-player game, it's a blast. Because you really are trying to, it's like who's going to go where? Whose territory is going to get entrenched upon? How are we going to block people? Are we going to team up potentially? And I usually don't like games like that where you can team up on people. But here I feel like it's more silly and it's so quick that it's just fun.
Yeah. It's also not as, if you're going to team up on somebody, it does end up being like, it could potentially be disadvantaged. Like there could be a disadvantage there. So it's interesting to see how it works. I do like the idea of like, once you can't do anything, you're done. So that's like the end of the game for you. And because it's such a quick game and it's pretty easy to set up, it's great for like just playing playing quickly through a number of different rounds. And of course, it's open information. You know what people have left. You know what the possibilities are. You can kind of grow how you want and then almost play the player. Yeah.
And that's
Locus.
so much fun.
Oh, it's not as heavy as Isle of Cats, but it's Planet Unknown. It is a heavy polyomino, which is very fun.
A heavy weight. Or complexity heavy as well.
Both.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. This one is designed by, can you read it?
By Ryan Lambert and Adam Rayberg. And
it's published by Adam's Apple Games.
That is correct.
This one is pretty new. It's my favorite part off the bat is what I'll tell you is that it's a 6-player game. It plays up to 6, which I think is amazing. And it has like a lazy Susan that you can draft tiles out of, which is a lot of fun.
You have to draft
tiles out of. Yeah. But basically what you're doing is you're trying to terraform a new planet. And the amazing part about this is as you're playing these tiles that have different symbols on them, you're moving up on these tracks that allow you to do different things, combo off, and get even more points. The trick here though is on your turn, you get to decide which of the sections on this Lazy Susan that you're going to take from. You always have access to 2 shapes because of this, but depending on where you place is dependent on what the other players also get to pick. And then, so it's this interesting decision of like, I know I need these pieces so I can place them here. So how are the players going to, other players going to react when they have to do this? What tracks did they move up on? Because maybe you want to be the first people to get up on the civilian track because there's bonuses that or the civilization track, the bonuses that you'll be able to unlock.
Civilization cards.
And they'll get you extra points. The other neat thing about this is you're competing for goals, but the goals are always between the people on your left and the people on your right. It's very interesting to see. I like the rover. You've got to like make sure you're cleaning up your asteroids that land on your ships, getting your life pods so that you can reuse them essentially. And then there's a lot of different ways to get points. But at the end of it all, there's a few triggers that can happen. Somebody fills their board. There's there's like one of the Lazy Susan things, it becomes empty. But once the game end has triggered, you also get points for rows and columns completed. And the cool thing about that, as I keep on saying, is you get your asteroids will actually mess up your rows and columns, so you want to make sure you clean them up. There's a lot to this game, even though it's just like a drafter, but the Lazy Susan is a highlight for sure, and the gameplay with the combos is a lot of fun.
Now this is one of those games where typically I'm not drawn to this type of theme. Like if I saw this game not knowing anything that is, I probably would not pick it up, and I think that's why it took us so long to get this game. But once we did, boy oh boy was it a lot of fun, because as I do think it is a more complex game than some of the other polyominoes, but it doesn't feel very complex at all because on your turn, you're taking a tile. based on the tile you're taking, you're moving up on the tracks and getting various benefits, and then that's essentially the game. Then you almost see the strategies right away of like, oh, I need to move my rover, so I should probably get more tiles of the rover icon so I can move my rover more. So it's easy to make those connections, and then there's so much variability in this game too, because you can play on different planets,
different boards,
and just a lot of variety. So it's a lot of fun. It's a great table presence, and I always look forward to playing this game.
Yep, exactly. And that is Planet Unknown.
Unknown. Now, I'm not drawn to space themes as much, but I am drawn to animals.
Animals!
Which is why we're going to talk about New York Zoo.
Oh my goodness, what a great game.
I feel like even though this is it's not an old game. It's like the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
It feels like a classic to me.
It does, yeah.
It's another Uwe Rosenberg game. It's from Capstone Games. And essentially in this game, you're going to draft tiles. You're going to populate those tiles with animals, which in turn will get you attractions for your zoo. And you're trying to be the first player to fill up your zoo completely with tiles. If you are that player, you win.
Yes.
So it's another one of those games of like the race to be the first. And I would say, like, in my head, this is almost some more fun multiplayer patchwork.
It is like a multiplayer patchwork.
Because you're essentially just drafting tiles, and the animals are what make it really fun, because you're able to breed them, and based on where the elephant is on the board, you can multiply your animals, and then use those animals to your advantage to get more attraction tiles. And you'll want to get the bigger space attraction tiles first so you can fill your zoo.
Yes. Yeah.
But generally, it's a really fun game. The theme is so much fun. The animal pieces are so much fun, and you're just having a blast.
Yep.
Making the elephant go around the table, gracing you with pieces.
My favorite thing about this one is you're not only deciding on which polyomino tile you're going to take to put onto your board, you're also deciding whether or not the animals that you're going to take, which I think is very, very interesting, because there are certain times where you can like go farther on the track. Maybe some of the tiles are empty, or some of the spaces that tiles would have been are empty because you're so far in the game that now you can actually jump ahead farther, because you're only allowed to move a certain number of spaces when you do get to draft select. So that's a lot of fun. And of course, yeah, it's like a weigh your options
Tile
kind of thing.
or animals. Sometimes animals are more worth it.
Exactly.
Especially if there's breeding.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's that you can prepare yourself for that breeding phase that happens when the elephant crosses over that space.
I like that the elephant decides everything.
The elephant is the king of the New York Zoo.
Yeah. And that is
New York Zoo. All right, next game I'm going to talk about is Public Markets. This one's by Molly Johnson, Robert Melvin, and Sean Stankovic, and is published by Talon Strike Studios.
I always like see the Talon Strike.
Yeah. Okay, so this one is an interesting tile placer where you're basically like going out on your boat and catching fish, bringing them back to be able to placing them into your cooler that you'll then be able to sell off to the market, get money, and help yourself score more points.
Yay, Public Market.
Yes, it's definitely a bit more involved, but the cool thing about this game that I really enjoyed is the action selection, and what you're going to end up doing when you move your workers onto the action spaces and drafting some of the fish that you end up catching is determining what your turn for the next phase of that round. I like being able to like take a cheaper fish to have a better chance at going like into the spots that I want to. And then of course when you end up filling your cooler, you get to also empty it. That's probably my favorite part about this game.
Emptying the cooler?
Emptying the cooler.
It means you've done a good job.
Yeah, especially if you've done it right, because you can like each cooler is different, and if you cover up all the shrimp, there's a bonus that you get. If you surround the crabs, that's another bonus that you can get, and then you can of course get a lot more bonus money for placing in completed rows and completed columns. Yeah.
It's definitely a game that you'll play again and again to try to really maximize your strategy.
Yes.
Because there's so many different ways to score points. There's so many little things that you want to pay attention to and focus on, but you can't really focus on all of it at once.
Yes.
So at first it is going to be like, oh, I probably should. You learn a lot from your first couple of games, I find.
You do. Definitely with this one. There's a lot, especially because there's a lot going on, and there's a lot involved with each step in each phase, in each round.
Yeah. Found it very kind of procedural. There's like, you do this.
Which
you do
helps,
this.
for
Which
sure.
Does, yes.
Yeah.
So if you enjoy fishing, if you want to sell your fish in the public market, it's the one for you to check out.
Public market.
Exactly. Now we're going to talk about one I love very much.
This one?
No.
Oh.
It is this one.
He said that and then he was looking at this one.
My City.
Yes.
So this is, I think, the only legacy Polyomino game that we're going to be talking about.
Yes.
And essentially in My City, you're going to play through various episodes and chapters to populate your board, which is your city. And then as every episode, your board is going to evolve, things are going to happen, rules are going to change slightly. But the way the game is played is you essentially flip a card and everyone places that polyomino on their board following a certain set of conditions.
Yeah.
And I think that's all I will say without saying too much about spoilers. But what I will say is when we first played this game, this is one of the fastest legacy games I think we finished.
Yeah.
Because typically we start, and then like if we're really into, like there's not a lot of games that we're like, we're going to fly through this. We usually kind of have a little bit of like a slower middle, and then we come back to it. Sometimes we don't come back to it. But this one, we power through. We had so much fun.
Yeah.
And I deeply love My City.
Yeah, this is a really good game, and like Ilya said, as it evolves as you go through, there's different ways to score. So you're still really doing the same thing over and over again, but with these unique twists that maybe shift your scoring one way or the other, and then at the end of it, because you're like going head to head with everybody at the board, everybody at the game, you don't necessarily have to win the first chapter, but you can catch up and you can do better, and then things like balance out, and it's just really cool to see that like how close the game ends up being still.
And I think another reason I really like this game is that it really teaches mechanics, I find. Because in the beginning of the game, it's a very simple, you place your tiles, this is how you're going to score your points. The rules are very straightforward. But then there's little things that get added, and by the end of the game, like it doesn't feel like too much, but it's layered in a way that feels really fun.
Yeah, you never want a game like this to add too much modularity where like the game is completely different by the end of it. And I think this game does a very good job at like slowly adding new things, but intentional things.
And that is My City. There's also My Island, which we're about to dive into, which I'm very excited about.
Yay, My Island. All right, the second last game I'm going to talk about is Wild Tiled West. What a beautiful game. This one is designed by Paul Denin, and it's published by Direwolf. So basically in this one, you are in the Wild Tiled West, and you're going to be building out your town and like area with a bunch of different tiles. And the neat thing about this game is on the start of every turn, you're going to roll these sets of dice, and based on how the dice show up, those are going to be the numbers that are available to each player to be able to draft. Once you take that tile, that one gets removed, and then there's neat ways to kind of like maneuver through the river. Once certain things are empty, you can move over to the next one, and basically you're going to want to place them into your tableau area to try and fulfill certain things, do certain things, and make sure you're able to like take out the bandits, build up your sheriffs, make sure you have the right people to score you the right goals, and it is neat, let me tell you that.
One of my favorite parts is you have bullets.
Yeah.
And when you shoot the bandits, they become tombstones.
Yeah, and they're the same meeple piece, so it's like
pew, tombstone.
Yeah. It is very cool, because then you've got like tombstones laying around your map, and then of course you can like corral all the cows that have been around, which is super beneficial. It's it felt like a fast moving game, but it really does have a lot going for it, where you've got to make like key decisions. Yeah.
What I love about this game is that everything on the board really guides you throughout the gameplay.
Yes. Yeah.
Everything is really explained. It doesn't feel overly complicated. And it's just so much fun. I feel like the mechanics in this game blew me away. Yes. I think it's a really good mix. It's a really good flow. I don't love the Wild West as a theme. Like, to me, it's not super appealing. But I think the animals
I would say when
made
you
it
put
up.
that together with the critters.
Yeah, the animals and the art kind of made up for it a little bit. But I think that's where my only, like, tiny minus for myself is. But the mechanics, I would play this game any day and every day.
Mm-hmm. I know what my tiny minus is. The tiles are very thin. That's it.
Thin polyominoes.
Thin polyominoes.
Should we rank all the polyominoes based on the thickness of their tiles?
Sorry, Wild Tile West, but you're out.
Oops.
But that's Wild Tile West. Definitely take a look.
Take a look. Kodama Forest.
Oh.
Now this game is designed by Jenny Iglesias and Kevin Riley and is from Indie Board and Cards. And essentially what you're doing in this game is you are filling the boards to your left and the right. If you ever play games like Between Two Cities or Between Two Castles of Mad Ludwig, it's the similar concept where you're working with the players to your left and right to complete the boards.
Score the least amount of points.
Yeah, you want to score the least amount of points. And every turn you're essentially going to try to cover up the valued points. And if you ever get a pond, a bamboo forest, or a flower, you get additional tiles. You get the panda, the butterfly, or the frog. And that will cover up more spaces. So you're working together to essentially cover up as much of the board as possible. Because when one player has all their 5s and 10s covered up, that's the game end.
That is the game.
You're going to count all the empty spaces on your left, all the empty spaces on your right. If you have any of those 5 or 10s, you'll add those. Like, those will be negative points. If they have nothing, it's just -1. And then the player with the lowest wins.
Yes. I like the tug and pull because you're like trying to do well on both sides. I also think that it's very interesting to make the decision of like what tiles should I use. I wish I had more like selection for the tiles because I felt a little restricted by only having 3.
There's 3 and you choose 2.
And sometimes like the combo didn't really work out as well, but that's part of the game, and I did really enjoy like trying to fill my board and figure out like which of the 3 would be best for this side versus this side. So that was fun.
We played it at 5, and I always found it really funny because 2 sets of us would be collaborating, and then the other person would just be like,
yeah.
So I think this one is better at even numbers because you can like trade back and forth. But it still was a lot of fun at 5. Like that's not a knock at it whatsoever. I just always found it funny when I'm just like, oh look, they're doing something good and they're doing something good. I wonder what I'm gonna do.
I wonder what to do. Yeah, that's a good point. That is a good point.
So that is
Kodama Forest.
That is.
All right, one more game from me, and then we can call part 1 over.
What about me?
You can have one too, but this is my last game, and that is World Wonders. World Wonders is designed by Z Mendez and is published by Arcane Wonders, and essentially what you're going to be doing is building up your civilization in your little tableau space. The fun part about this is you're going to get money at the beginning of each round and you have to decide how to spend it. And there's these things called World Wonders that basically say like you can get them if you meet these conditions and then spend the rest of the money for your round or for the whole round. So you can kind of like spend your money and then wait until you've got like 1 or 2 coins and then hopefully build a world wonder onto your board. The nice part about this is you've got like roads and buildings that you need to connect, and there's certain rules of course that you have to follow, but the World Wonders really add value to your scoring opportunities. And then those civ tracks that you'll move up throughout like the game by taking certain tiles and by taking certain World Wonders, they'll move you up and hopefully score you even more points.
Exactly. I like the resources that you get because you never really spend them, but they contribute to your population. So as your city becomes more bustling, your population is going to be higher. You can get more points from that as well. Yeah, I also like that mechanic of score. You score the least track of your resources. So the one that you're the lowest on, you're going to score that much points at the end of the game. So you're trying to balance everything as much as possible. And I think the last thing I'll say is I love seeing the World Wonders on the board.
Yeah,
they're just so pretty and they're so vibrant. And there's so many of them.
There's so many of them.
Yeah.
It's very, very
20?
interesting. There's like a lot.
21.
21.
21 World Wonders.
Yeah. It's a beautiful game. I will say the one thing that I do like the World Wonders, but it also felt like out of place to have like your tiles like on the board and then have this one giant building just taking up some of the space, or like however many wonders you end up placing. But that is like also putting an emphasis on how important those wonders are. So that was really neat to see. And then of course, like the rules that you go through to try and like finish the game is a lot of fun. It's almost like a drafting where things get taken and you won't be able to take them anymore. So you have the interesting decision points of like, oh, maybe I should spend my money to first get this or to first get this, and then maybe you won't be able to build roads or something like that, which is kind of unfortunate. But
I think that's what matters the most for the World Wonders, because you spend the rest of your money.
Yeah.
So if there's one that we're really going for, and it's like we have 5 coins left, that's still a lot to do actions. But sometimes World Wonders only cost 1 if you wait till the end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it could also get taken away from you, so who knows?
Who knows?
Yeah.
And that is
World Wonders.
Now the last game we're going to be talking about in our part 1 video is
The Princes of Florence.
So this one is designed by the team of Wolfgang Kramer, Richard Ulrich, and Jens Christopher Ulrich. It's illustrated by Lucas Siegmund and is published by WizKids. Now, this game has been republished a few times.
Yes.
It's quite an older game, and actually when doing research for Polyomino Month, this is the one that probably came up one of the most times of like, people, you have to play the Princes of Florence. So we were so excited when we learned that WizKids has republished it this year.
Yeah, and it did not disappoint, that's for certain.
Did not. So what you're trying to do in this game is you're trying to get the most prestige. And the way that you'll do this is by building up your principality. There's 2 phases. There's 7 rounds with 2 phases in each round. There's an auction phase where you'll auction various tiles, cards, or little builders or gestures that'll help you. And then the second phase, which is where you take 2 main actions. So sometimes it's putting your players to work, sometimes it's getting freedoms, doing a lot of variety of stuff.
Yeah, to set yourself up to do even more work.
Yeah, so the working is the most important part in this game. Freedoms help, buildings help, but putting those cards to work is essential because they'll get you more money and they'll get you more points in return as well.
Yeah.
And based on the buildings, the freedoms, the landscapes, and the cards that you've played that come out is the value of your work. So every turn you're trying to make sure you maximize that work amount so you can score the most points.
Yeah. Yeah, I will say, I'm pretty sure I say this all the time, but auction games are not really my thing. This is like a nice little like push into the auction space where it is very important to get your stuff, but you don't get left in an unfortunate space of not being able to do anything, because you will, no matter what, get something during the auction phase, unless I guess you don't have any money.
No,
But,
then you just spend the...
Yeah, I guess you could spend prestige. But anyways, you'll always get something and you can always find a use for it. Like there's nothing negative about getting any of the things in the auction phase. And then just being able to like complete all of those works, because the more you have of each of those like objectives that the workers need, the better you're going to score. And having that like restriction, because at the start of every round the marker moves and it determines how many work points need to be made by each of your works to actually count for something. So that's like very, very key, but also like it gives you some motivation. Like, how do I get there? How do I make sure I can do that? And there's like other cards that will help you. There's also game end scoring that will add to a lot of value. And there's a lot of ways that you can like drive your strategy. And I think that's a very, very neat way, but also it doesn't like restrict you in a sense of, oh, I really wanted to go there, but because I didn't get this, I can't. No, you're still able to do it. You just gotta think a little bit more about how you're going to get there.
This is also a 1 to 5 player game. There is a solo mode. It also comes with a mini expansion. But what I was thinking about earlier is with an auction, I thought it wouldn't be that good at 2 players. But it was.
Yeah, they changed it up just slightly.
Yeah, we played it at 2 and 5, and I liked both equally. Tyler and I actually had a game in our 2-player game where we were 1 point away from each other. But there was a lot of funny moments too where like I think we got used to bidding all just to push each other's prices up. So I bid thinking Tyler would bid again, and he's like, "No, you haven't." I'm like, "I don't want it. No." Yeah. So I think there's like a lot of moments in this game that really make it a lot of fun. And I think the length just feels right. The layers of the different like things you can get feel right. It was a lot of fun, and I was genuinely just really surprised by how much I enjoyed it.
Yeah. This one definitely hit the right spots for us. So there you go. That's The Princes of Florence.
Woohoo! Well, that has been part 1 of our PolyomiNovember reviews.
Quick reviews.
Was that quick?
Hopefully we were able to explain the games well enough for you folks to learn something about them, but also give like a short opinion on the things that we liked. Yeah.
We liked a lot of these. I don't think there was any that I particularly was not gravitated towards. But there's definitely a few favorites in there that will likely make my top 10.
Yeah, but you'll have to wait for the top 10.
What are they going to be?
Will be?
I don't know.
Who knows?
I don't think I know my top 10 yet.
I could probably knock it out.
Knock it out right now?
No, not in front of everybody. But
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, we have 3 questions of the day. Number 1, have you played any of these games? What are your thoughts on them? Number 2, what's your favorite game out of the bunches? And number 3, which one of these have you not played but you want to play?
Ooh.
Those are all fun questions of the day.
Nice. Yeah.
You can answer all of them. And, like I said earlier, we will be doing a giveaway this video. And the giveaway this video is...
Alright. Planet Unknown.
So it will be the deluxe version. And in order to win, we're going to be doing a similar thing. Look at the graphic.
A puzzle.
Answer the question. The first one may have been easy. Is this one harder? We'll find out. Nobody knows.
Who knows?
But in order, all the terms and conditions where winners are available to win will be in the description. Make sure to read that. There will also be a potential for bonus entries if you read the description.
Yeah, there you go.
Maybe a couple if you read it carefully. Wow.
Amazing.
But thank you so much to Adam's Apples Games for providing a copy for us to give away. We're really excited about that. And thank you so much to all of you for hanging out at PolyomiNovember.
PolyomiNovember.
I hope you've all said it in your households.
Yeah.
Multiple times.
Yeah.
I hope that one of you just in the middle of the night opens your window and screams, PolyomiNovember.
You don't have to do that.
If you do, please take a video and tag me, because that would make me very happy.
That would be pretty funny.
So, we hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
And good luck in our giveaway. Bye!